Welcome back, everybody. Final segment of the week as we get set for a busy sports weekend. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. We continue our series we started last week on Meeting the Mountain West. Last week, we introduced you to New Mexico. Today, it's Nevada. The Wolfpack are looking for bigger and better things in 2026. Chris Murray covers everything Nevada you need to know for the Nevada Sports Net. It's been covering for a long, long time, and he gets up early with us today. I'm not going to hold against him. Apparently, he's a Buffalo Bills fan. Is that accurate?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Jets fan, so you can hold that against me since they never win. But we'll wait and swap stories on that. But first, thanks for doing this. Second, I want your overview here. We're 3 months after the announcement that came that North Dakota State was going to be part of this. Give me your perspective on the Mountain West going. They had already added UTEP and Northern Illinois. When you heard NDSU was coming in, what was your reaction?
I guess not surprised because I think it was a very obvious fit. I think the concern for the Mountain West when it lost those 5 schools to the Pac-12 is it needed certainty in numbers. It needed to say, well, we're going to add this FBS school and the SEC and the Big Ten are not going to shut us down. If you go and you try and get an FCS school and they try and close that pipeline before the school actually gets into your conference, and then you don't have the 8 mandatory FBS schools, well, now you're in trouble. So I think if you had a depth chart of the most attractive football programs the Mountain West could have added, post losing those 5 schools to the Pac-12, North Dakota State was right at the top. It just was, would it make sense and would it be allowed? So I think it initially went for a little bit of certainty, getting Northern Illinois, getting UTEP, adding Hawaii as a full member. And then it went for, maybe the piece that it actually wanted in North Dakota State. So I think it's a great addition for the conference. I think it's going to be an intriguing national storyline as well, which will add even more eyeballs to Mountain West football this season.
For your viewers, listeners, readers, what have you heard back reaction-wise about the Bison coming in?
I mean, Jeff Cho, we've asked him quite a bit. He lost to them a couple times in the playoff. Yeah, Montana State head coach. He's now entering his 3rd year in Nevada. So, he was very bullish on the ad. I mean, he did have some concerns about adding the scholarship numbers and will it financially make sense. Obviously, North Dakota State came up with the money, with the entry fee, with all of the added expenses that it takes to get up to the FBS. But Jeff Choate has spoken very well, about the Bison. There's been a number of players from the FCS level that Nevada's added via the transfer portal. We've asked them as well. And they're very high on the addition as well. So I think it makes a ton of sense. I think they're going to step into this conference to be contenders from day one. And when you look at moving forward, if you're the Mountain West, your chief objective is to be better now than the Pac-12. So why not add programs that are going to challenge at the top of your conference immediately? And that's, I think, what North Dakota State's going to do.
Give us you've covered this league for a long time. I think for the Bison staff that I've talked, and we had their defensive coordinator here the other day, that he said he wasn't necessarily worried so much about the speed, is being good up front, that they think the Bison have a distinct advantage on the offensive and defensive lines. Can you talk about that, of what your experience is and seeing what the lines of scrimmage play is like with the teams now left in the Mountain West?
Well, I think you just look at the history of the Mountain West teams that run the ball win the championship.
Yeah.
Nevada had some really good teams under Jay Norvell in 2020, 2021, but it was an air raid scheme. They had Carson Strong, who was the back-to-back Mountain West Player of the Year. They had Romeo Doubs, who just signed a huge contract with the Patriots, has been a very successful NFL wide receiver. They had Cole Turner, another NFL wide receiver. They had Elijah Cooks, another NFL wide receiver. They could really throw the ball, but they could never win the Mountain West Championship because they couldn't run the ball. They were not strong enough in the trenches. I talk with Chris Alt, the former Nevada head coach in the College Football Hall of Fame, all the time, and he always tells you, if you run an air raid, you're not winning a championship. So yes, the game is won in the trenches still. Historically in the Mountain West, it's been won in the trenches. You look at San Diego State, you look at Boise State, you look at Fresno State. Those are the teams that have dominated this league, and they've done it by running the ball. Not to say they haven't had good quarterbacks or good wide receivers, but that is the formula to winning championships in the Mountain West. It obviously has been a big strength in North Dakota State. Will it continue to be so as you jump up to the FBS? Certainly a storyline to watch.
You've already put out kind of a preseason look ahead. What's your feeling on the Bison did not get any favors with the schedule, Chris. They got to go to New Mexico. They got to go to Air Force, Hawaii, and Vegas. I don't know if that was the league was saying, hey, welcome to FBS football. But what do you gather of where they could place themselves in the new Mountain West?
So, yeah, I did an all-Mountain West first and second preseason team, and I had North Dakota State with the second most honorees with 7, only New Mexico had more with 8. I also did a projected post-spring camp power rankings and record for this season, I do have North Dakota State third behind New Mexico and UNLV because of that schedule.
Yeah.
Literally the four hardest teams in the conference, at least projected, that are not North Dakota State, the Bison have to go on the road to play. It's not easy winning in Hawaii. That has been difficult for everybody in the league for a long, long time. New Mexico's home field advantage really ticked up last year. They had the largest percentage increase in home attendance in the entire FBS. UNLV has become a program that has won 30 games over the last 3 years. Very, very good at home as well. And then the academy is not an easy place to play. You're above 6,000 feet of elevation. It's usually very cold. They're going to try and run the ball and beat you up. So those are four really hard road games. If you go 2-2 in those road games, you're probably pretty happy. But if you go 2-2 in those road games, it might not be enough to win a Mountain West championship or get into a conference championship game if the Bison are approved to be able to do that in year one. So I think from a talent perspective, from a coaching perspective, they're going to be one of the better teams in the Mountain West. But the schedule does give me a little bit of hesitancy to say that they're going to have the best.
Chris, for Bison fans are already just drooling over the places to go. You're in Reno. The Bison aren't going to Nevada this year. Nevada's coming here, but just football. I'm more focused on the football than the destinations right now. For fans who are going to go, describe what the environment is at a stadium in Nevada or the other places around the Mountain West.
Not so great at Nevada of late. This has been a little bit of an issue. I mean, this has been a really proud program. We talked about the Coach Alt days. One of the best in Division I AA. They stepped into the FBS in 1992, became the first team to ever win a conference championship in their first year in the FBS. And then they went on a run of 14 bowls in 17 seasons, nationally ranked in the top 15 in 2010. But things have just fallen apart the last 4 years. This is a program that has 10 wins against 39 losses in the last 4 years. They've not been able to make that adjustment to NIL, to transfer portal, to the kind of investment required to win at the FBS level in modern college football. Now they are making those changes. They did a much better job in retaining its top talent this offseason. They just hit the halfway mark at a new $28 million indoor field house. In terms of actually the game day experience, though, it's been about 10,000 fans, which is not what you're looking for if you're an FBS school. I think UNLV going to Allegiant Stadium, that's a really cool experience. If you've never been down to the Strip, that's a once in a lifetime kind of thing. We're actually taking our kids there for the first time in Memorial Day, just so they can experience what that looks like. Albuquerque's a pretty cool city, so going to New Mexico, you can never fault the trip to Hawaii. I would say Oahu's probably not my favorite island. I'm more of a Maui guy, and I like the Big Island. But there's certainly some really cool destinations for Bison fans if they're going to follow the team this year to come out and hit. I think Reno is a hidden gem of a city. Lake Tahoe is one of the most beautiful places in the world. That's 45 minutes away. So I would say if you are ever making a trip to Northern Nevada, you have to hit Tahoe. Reno downtown, maybe not quite so good. And hopefully by the time the Bison do come play here at Nevada, that the team's in a little bit better place and the stadium's a little bit more.
Is this a make or break year for Choate in your mind, considering what's happened the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, it went 2-10 the 2 years before him. He said he was going to launch it. There's not going to be a rebuild in year one. Went 3-10, lost a lot of really close games with a fairly talented team he was able to put together. Last year, the team was nowhere near as talented, lost a ton of players to the transfer portal, and then 3-9 again. So you come into this season at 6-19. He does still have a $2 million buyout after this year, and Nevada's not the kind of school that pays that kind of money to get rid of a coach. But there has to be a better product on the field, and there has to be more revenue coming from that program, which lost almost $4 million last year. Jeff Choate did inherit a very difficult situation. So I think there was a thought that it'd be a quicker turnaround. I think if it's a 2 or 3 win season this year, there are going to be that dialogue. There is going to have to be that big decision on whether a change has to be made. I think the roster, specifically the offensive line, is in a much better place to at least get to a bowl. Now, the big question is, can you throw the ball? Nevada has more interceptions and passing touchdowns combined over the last 4 years. And last year, I think it was like 10 touchdowns to 17 interceptions. They did bring in a transfer from UCLA and Luke Duncan. Carter Jones played a lot as a true freshman. He's back. Wide receiver core is better. New offensive coordinator, Brett Bartolone. He came from Colorado, was the OC at Jackson State under Deion Sanders. Really helped Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter. If that pass game isn't better, they're still going to struggle. And there are some legitimate major questions about that pass game. But the quarterback should have time given what I think is going to be a top 3 offensive line in the Mountain West.
Chris, I really appreciate you doing this. One last thing. I'm always obsessed with scheduling. I'm a TV guy, as you are. I was telling you this in the break. Bison fans have been used to forever. Hey, we know the game's going to be Saturday at 2:30, and it's going to be here. for fans, can you describe how this works every week? Once I know the first 3 games are going to announce at the end of May, but then after that, how does this usually work when they find out when and where they're playing?
Yeah, they'll give out the full TV schedule usually at the end of May. So whenever games are selected for national TV will be announced, but you generally don't have times associated with those games.
Right.
So the window is 13 days. So essentially 2 Mondays before kickoff, the time has to be set. So you'll know the TV partners, you'll know which games fell through, not on national television. At that point, then it goes to the 4th tier right holders, which is the school, and they can set their own time. But most of the North Dakota State's games, I think, are going to be picked up by national TV. I think 1 or 2 may be protected to try and squeeze some money out of that new pay app, the Mountain West app. But yeah, you'll probably have, I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9 national TV games scheduled, maybe a couple of times on those. But they can always go and change them to a Friday later on in the year.
Right.
So there's more uncertainty. You definitely don't have, you can't mark down the calendar in ink. It's more in pencil. That is life in the FBS. So welcome to the FBS, where you don't get to dictate when or where your games or what time they're playing.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned when they made this move in February. I said that's one of the things that comes with it. This was great, but I want to do this again because you're leader in the Mountain West in coverage. Thanks so much for giving us a little overview. Be well, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
Go Bills.
I appreciate that. Chris Murray joining us from Nevada Sports Net, giving us the lowdown on the Wolfpack with Nevada and old friend Jeff Choate. Got some work to do there. The Bison will host the Wolfpack. That comes in the middle of October. Just that league, look at it again from the teams that are, again, you have to remember Boise State gone, Fresno gone, San Diego State gone, Colorado State gone, Utah State gone, right? And the Bison going to slide in here. And Chris is bullish on him, has him finishing 3rd in his preseason poll that he's done here out of spring football. But you look at it with Air Force, was not great last year. They won 4 games, right? Nevada, not good. Wyoming, not good. San Jose State, not good. One of those teams maybe bubble up and be better. Maybe Nevada's one of them in 2026. Can't wait. As the countdown rolls on to get ready for a new year of Bison football. All right, we'll take our final break. We come back. We'll put a bow on things, get you ready for a sports weekend that involves the Wild and the Wolves are still playing. It's Kentucky Derby weekend as well. Hot Mike Raps right after this.